so excited. I am so excited to be doing a monthly book study every single month. I don't know about you guys. I am a reader. Like, I like to read, and I know some of you are not readers. And that's okay because I will read the book, make cool notes about the book that you can just kind of skim through, maybe do some like questions and stuff, and I'll give you all the meat and so much more about the book. So I love to read. I think that an important part of growth is continuing to learn and engage and ask yourself hard questions. And reading is an important part of growth. So reading a book every single month. That's what you're going to get as a part of this community, whether you read it or not. You're going to have felt like you read a book every month because every month we're going to do something new and it's going to be good. So this month our first book is I Do Boundaries by Havilah Cunnington. This is the ebook on my iPad. And before I dive into my notes, I would love it if you guys would just like give me some feedback here. So I need you to unmute. And if you want to show your face, you can, or if you don't want to, you don't have to. No big deal. But I definitely need some feedback here. How many of you actually bought the physical book? Let me know if you bought the physical book. Unmute and talk.
I have the book.
What do you think so far?
So far, so good. I started reading it Saturday. That's when it came, and I'm only in part of day 2. So
Okay, great.
I thought the spiritual contract thing was actually really cool. I love the words she used.
We're gonna cover that tonight. I love it too.
I agree. I like the contract too.
Yes. Okay. So Samantha, did you get the physical book as well?
I did not get the physical book. I got it off your
You did
site.
the ebook.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So that's the next thing I was going to ask. How many of you are utilizing the ebook that I uploaded it into the school platform? Okay. How many of you are planning to not read the book at all and just take what I give you? Be honest, like it's totally fine to do that. I'm just trying to gauge where we're at here. What?
I'm planning on you giving me all of this stuff.
Okay, so you're not reading it at all.
I would like to read it.
Well, you guys mentioned a contract, and I'm a little interested. I might have to get the ebook just to see what that was.
I've got the contract in my PDF. I'll show you shortly. Okay, Julia, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say that I would be interested in reading the book. I will be honest with you. I'm a little technologically challenged. So,
Okay.
I'm going to have to do some more exploring and see if I can find it, the ebook version that you're referencing.
Yep, I can point you right in the right direction. Let me ask you this, Julia, when you are getting into the school app, into our Driven by Design community, are you doing that on your phone or on a computer?
On my phone. Would it be better if I
On
did
your
it
phone.
on the computer?
Either one is perfectly fine. They're both great. I just wanted to know so that I could kind of help you.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you guys how to do this real quick, and then we'll get into the whole deal here. But it's important that you guys know how to use the online community, and I'm not sure how deep y'all are getting into it. So when I'm going to actually go into it in the iPad because it's so much bigger and it's the same as the phone. So when you are in the community, you've got your home page, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you've got all of the stuff. And then you see this tab right here that says Classroom.
Yes.
So you're going to click on that. And then there's a whole bunch of modules in here. You just have all these different modules. They look a little bit better on a phone or a computer than they do on this iPad. But you'll click this Start Here module, and you work through all of these different pages. So all of this text here is a different clickable page that has something for you to do. And so you just click it, and then there's a place up here in the upper right-hand corner for you to click the check mark whenever you've done one of those pages. And so that's the start here section. But if you go down to the study, the module that says book studies, and click on that, and you see right there, I've just got one line of text in there, and it's the July 2025 I Do Boundaries. We're going to tap that, and it's going to open it up. And right here at the bottom, I've got a link to buy the physical book, or under the resources tab there. I know this is backwards, but you get the idea. There is the I Do Boundaries ebook that you can just tap it and it'll open it up in an ebook. Or right underneath that is the recap PDF that I will add to each week. And that recap PDF is basically my notes from reading this book and some challenge questions for you, the spiritual contract that the other ladies just mentioned. So all the recap notes, here's the contract. So you have all of that without actually having to dig through the book.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you. I meant to sign up a couple of weeks ago and then completely forgot. And so I just finalized getting everything set up today. So I didn't get a chance to look at it too much, but thank you for the direction, and I will look at it later. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you, like I said, if you just go through the start here, it'll explain everything. There's a message feature in school that you could just message me real quick if you have any issues. So feel free, by all means, all of you, message me if you need anything. Make sure that if you share the community, you're using your affiliate link to share. And to do that, you just tap on your face in the app. And then there is a button that says affiliates. And you can go in there and you can share the Driven by Design affiliate link, and you get paid if somebody joins using your affiliate link. So the way it's set up right now, if you share it with 5 people who join, that pays for your monthly fee. And if you get people beyond 5 to join, you're just earning money basically. So lots of opportunity there for you to pay for your own monthly subscription to the community, and then even beyond that. So, all right. Anybody else have anything they want to say or questions that they want to ask or anything before we get into it? All right, I am going to dig right in then. So, I do boundaries. This is a very important part of being a healthy person, basically. Without boundaries, you can exhaust yourself. You can overfunction. You can underfunction if you're not taking ownership for your own boundaries. The Lord sets clear boundaries. So there's a lot of things in scripture that we're going to get into in this study that talk about boundaries. But one of the things I want you to think of, most of you in here, I think most of you are moms. I can't see everybody. There's some other people I can't see on my main screen right now. But anyway, as moms, I want you to think about this. Put yourself in this perspective. And this is the first story Havilah goes into in day 1. So this I Do Boundaries book is laid out in 15 days. So it's a 15-day study. So it's a really short read, you guys, if you want to go through it. But again, I'm going to give you all of the meat. So one of the things she lays out is she is on stage doing worship practice. And her baby's crying. One of her friends goes and motions to her, "Hey, do you want me to pick up your baby? Is that okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's okay. You can get him." And so the friend is taking care of the baby while she is leading worship practice with the worship team. And then she notices the friend goes to the back and she sees the friend talking to her friend's father. And then next thing she knows, that guy has her baby and goes out of the sanctuary where she can't see her baby. And all of her internal alarms are going off. She's just like, "I'm not comfortable with this." Not necessarily her internal alarms, like great discernment, like something bad's going to happen to her baby, but it crossed a boundary. It crossed a boundary that she hadn't spoken or realized, but everything inside of her was like, "No, I don't want you to take my infant baby outside of my sight, and I don't know you." And so this boundary was crossed. And what did she do? She kept on doing worship practice. She didn't do anything. She was afraid of what people would think if she stepped away from that job she was supposed to be doing. These other people, they had, got childcare and they had their lives set aside where they could be doing this worship practice right now. And how rude would it be for her to interrupt that? Or what would people think if she felt uncomfortable with her friend's dad taking her baby out of the room? Like, how would people react to that? All of these things are unhealthy because we have to understand that we have boundaries and we need to guard those boundaries for ourselves and in others. And it keeps us safe. It keeps the good things in and the bad things out. And that's one area where I think a lot of Christians struggle, is because I've struggled with this personally before too, because how are boundaries showing love is what I have struggled with in the past. Like, if I set up a boundary that, I am not going to talk to this person because they are toxic in my life and in my family, and so I'm going to cut them out. I've got this wall up. I'm not letting them in. Okay, yeah, that's probably, depending on where you go with it, that could be a healthy boundary or it could be unhealthy. You have to look at the root of it. Is it out of unforgiveness, or is it truly out of a heart of, I need to protect me and my family? Has anybody experienced anything like what I just said? Any of that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think I've experienced that a few different times. And you set the boundary as a mechanism of protection for yourself, for whatever reason that might be. But sometimes I know I get what you're saying about our boundaries showing love sometimes. And I think especially as women, you feel like you're supposed to be nurturing and loving to everyone. And sometimes it's difficult to establish those boundaries, even when they're necessary and even when they do provide that protection, just because it's almost like we're trained to do it differently, or society said that we need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that is one of the things she even mentions, is that her lack of boundary started in her childhood, because trying to we're trying to focus on the opinions of others and what others might think of me if I do this. For example, another example of a boundary would be, okay, let's use the baby example again. You have an infant baby and you don't want people to kiss your baby because you want to protect your baby from any sicknesses. That is healthy and that is right. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not something I necessarily thought about 18 years ago. Whenever I had a baby, I just wasn't a thought in my mind. Never had really any issues with that. But it is a real issue that people have, where, they take their newborn baby to church and everybody wants to kiss their baby and they're not comfortable with that. And because they're afraid of how other people might feel rejected or hurt, or what they might think of them, they don't say anything and they just let whoever hold and kiss their baby whenever inside they're uncomfortable with that. And that is part of what we're going to learn through this book of I Do Boundaries, is what are you comfortable with? What crosses a line in your life? Where are your boundaries? Even going into what your values are, what your morals are. In our home, in our family's home, there are boundaries of what is acceptable to watch on TV, what games are acceptable to play for my son, although he's not really a gamer, but he was never allowed to play any killing games whatsoever, while his other Christian friends who went to the same church as us and had many of the same convictions as us, they were allowed to play some of those games. Why? Because my husband and I both agreed that this isn't something that we that we feel like the Lord would allow in our son's life. For whatever reason, it may have been perfectly okay for the other kids. I'm not saying there's sin in that, but what I do know is that God gave our son to us, and God knows the beginning to the end of our son's life and what things might be a stumbling block for him in his future, or, traps that the enemy might set for our son. And for whatever reason, the killing games were just a no, no, no boundary in our family. And so one time, one of my son's friends brought a killing game into our home, and they were in the basement playing it. And I came downstairs and I saw it, and I came back upstairs and I had this internal conflict of what do I do? Because I don't want to be mean, which is weird thinking about who I am. I usually don't care. So, but I did. I went upstairs. I had this internal conflict that I didn't want to embarrass my son. I didn't want to be mean. I didn't want to be uncool. I didn't want to give it a hard time. I called Matthew up there and I said, "So is this the game that's being played?" And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't tell him to. He just brought it and put it in and started playing it. And I didn't want to make him feel bad." And so then my son, he was having the same unhealthy feelings too. We were both trying to people please. And that doesn't work well with boundaries. And so I had to go back downstairs and tell the kid, hey, that game is actually not appropriate in our home. It might be appropriate in your home, and that's fine, but Matthew is not allowed to play it, and it's not allowed to be played in our home. And I had to shut it down. And sometimes it's hard things to do, but you will feel so much more confident and respected and peaceful if you will define clearly your boundaries and stand up for yourself in them. And it's healthy. It's the emotionally healthy thing to do, to set boundaries and stand up for them. And how do I know this? Because God himself set boundaries. Our entire world has order to it. And there's boundaries everywhere. We see them all the time. You see fences, signs, do not enter here, walls that are there to protect. Think about the walls of your home. They're there to protect you. Cities, counties, states, countries. We have boundaries and we have them for a reason. They clarify ownership. And once you know who the owner of that boundary is, then you know who is responsible for that boundary. And that's another thing we're going to get into here is responsibility. And what you're not responsible for, because sometimes we overfunction and we take on responsibility for things that we don't own. And that's unhealthy sometimes. And it crosses our boundaries and it robs from ourselves and our family. But then sometimes people underfunction and they don't take care of what is theirs that they should own. So there's a balance here that we need to find with the boundaries. But basically the boundaries keep us safe and they protect us. And they protect safe and healthy love. So you are loving effectively whenever you are ensuring that you and your family's boundaries are being respected. And so think about like your life. You're the owner of your life, right? And owning your life requires that you figure out, okay, where are my boundary lines? What do I need to set? Um, think about your core beliefs, your opinions, past experiences, things that have brought you to where you are today. And how do you react when somebody does something that's just like you? Think about the story of like the kids that I was talking about, and maybe something in your life that you relate to, that something just like makes you like tense up. It's like, oh no, that like you recognize that crosses your boundary. I want you to think about a couple of areas maybe recently in your life where some of your boundaries have been crossed, and how did you react? And did you communicate a boundary there? And did you even recognize that that was a boundary in your life that had been crossed? So God outlined from the very beginning in Genesis 1:28. So in the first chapter of the Bible, he clarifies boundaries. And he said, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. God outlined from the beginning of time where Adam and Eve would have leadership and authority, and he commanded them to subdue and rule over what he had given them. He wasn't confused about ownership and governance. He commanded ownership and governance. And then she goes on to say, we understand ownership when authority is given to us. God knew that if he gave Adam and Eve ownership, they would walk in their rightful authority. And God calls us to walk in authority as well over our lives that he has given us ownership of and responsibility of. And when we take full ownership over our lives, over our properties, and we're walking in our authority, that pleases God. Any confusion of responsibility and ownership in our lives is a problem of boundaries. Okay, so I'm going to up here. So whenever she starts off on day 1, the heading of the chapter is, why am I so tired? And this is good. This is a good place to start this discussion on boundaries. Pamela said that she was powerless whenever she felt like her son was when she was watching her infant son being taken out of that room. She felt powerless, frozen in fear, like she couldn't do anything because of the opinions of others was holding her back from going and getting her son, which is what she felt like she needed to do. Her boundary had been crossed. Her son had been taken out of her sight, and that crossed her boundary. And she thought, I can't do anything. I have this whole room of people that I am like responsible for right now. And what will they think? So that made her feel very powerless. One of the things that you need to understand about boundaries is you can't do the right thing and keep everyone happy when the right thing isn't what everybody wants. And I want think about this one too. This is a scripture that she references in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 and 30. This is the Amplified Version. Come to me, all who are weary and heavily burdened by religious rituals that provide no peace, and I will give you rest, refreshing your souls with salvation. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, following me as my disciple, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest, renewal, and blessed quiet for your souls, for my yoke is easy to bear and my burden is light. So if you are not feeling like the yoke is easy and the burden is light, you're feeling exhausted, burnt out, tired, almost like things are unbearable, you have a boundary issue. And we're going to get into that more. And one of the things she points out that I love is she says, God doesn't have to abuse me to use me. And if we believe this, but we're still feeling like the burden is heavy, then we are probably putting more responsibility on ourselves than God ever intended. We're probably over functioning in different areas of our lives. And I didn't necessarily consider until having read this book that over functioning is a boundary issue. I didn't recognize that because I guess I just didn't realize whenever you clarify who owns this, then it makes it more clear of whose responsibility it is and if you're over functioning or not. That's something we're going to talk a lot about in this community, about being emotionally healthy and over functioning and doing for others what they can and should do for themselves. Like, for instance, I shared with many of you about how I stopped waking my 17-year-old son up in the morning because that's something he can and should do for himself, and I was over functioning. And sometimes when you overfunction, you prevent people from growing. Think about that. Okay, so this is like the recap of day one real quick. I kind of realized I just jumped in here and I didn't go over the how this is good, the layout. I was gonna start with the layout of this book study. So after I do this day one recap, I'm gonna give you that layout. And we are officially kicking off today. So if you have not read, you're not behind. You're perfectly fine. Some of us are just overachievers, okay? So don't worry. You can start reading today, tomorrow, whenever, or not at all if you want to. But here's the things that Havilah says remember in this. I will face battles between who I need to be and who I am currently. Being nice out of fear doesn't work. When my reality and theology collide, it's time to lean in and learn. Working harder doesn't work. Taking responsibilities for others doesn't work. God says my yoke is easy and my burden is light. God doesn't have to abuse me to use me. Okay, and then she goes into some other main points here. All spiritual growth comes from God, and it's only possible with his help. I love how it's paraphrased in the message version of that Matthew chapter 11 scripture. Walk with me and work with me and watch how I do it, is what Jesus says. Walk with me and work with me and watch how I do it. So that's so wonderful about our relationship with the Lord is he walks with us and gives us grace and leads us into things. So these are three things that will happen if you invest in this study, in this book study all month long. If you really dig in and invest, these are three things that will happen. Number one, you will walk with God. You'll learn what it's like to walk and talk with God and have relationship with him. Healthy relationships require communication and a significant amount of time together. Your relationship with God will need both of those things to thrive. Number two, it will work with God. There's going to be things God asks you to do, and you will immediately know how to do it. And there's other things that you won't know how to do or even where to start. Both are okay as long as you have decided that you are going to walk with God, because living for God is going to take your full determination, and there are no shortcuts. You have to do the work. Number three, we will watch him do it. The first two steps are within your responsibility, but the last step is to acknowledge that God can and will do for you the things that are not your responsibility. So this study is designed to help you see God at work in your everyday life and to help you establish clear boundaries. And I want to read you this scripture in 2 Peter 1:5. For this very reason, adding your diligence to the divine promises, employ every effort in exercising your faith to develop virtue, excellence, resolution, Christian energy, and in exercising virtue, develop knowledge and intelligence. And that's what we're all doing being a part of this Driven by Design community. We are making every effort to develop in excellence and exercising virtue and to develop knowledge in the things that God would have us to learn. And so we're making this investment in ourselves, both time and financial. You're not the only ones investing financially. This whole platform cost me a lot of money. And so far I am paying out more than what is coming back. So we're all in this together, making this investment and making every effort to develop and grow into who God is creating us to be. And it's going to be an amazing thing, you guys. There's the things that are planned. It's going to be great. It's going to be really good. We're all going to grow and we're going to look back a year from now and we're going to not even recognize like who we are, like who is this person today versus a year from now, it's going to look totally different. I'm so excited. But I love how Peter puts it here. We are to add diligence to God's divine promises. So yes, God makes the promise and he does do the work, but he does need our diligence. And we're to take every effort to exercise our faith because it helps us increase our resolution to live in freedom, and it will cause our energy and our virtue to grow. And one thing I've learned about growth, if you grow in literally any area of your life, let's say you want to grow in your physical health and you begin eating right or working out, or maybe both, you start growing in that area, it's just like this snowball effect begins to happen, and you just start growing in another area of your life, in your knowledge, or in your wisdom, or in your giftings. And then you grow in another area, you start growing in your relationships, and then you grow in setting healthy boundaries, and then you grow in your emotional health. Like, you start growing intentionally in one area, it's like all of these other areas just begin to compact on top of that, and you begin growing in many areas whenever you're intentionally growing. And a growth plan that I recently did with our women's ministry, and it's like we did it in 5 weeks, but it really needs 8 to 12 weeks to properly have the transformation power that it needs in our lives. So we're going to do that soon. I haven't decided when we're going to start this this growth plan, but I am telling you, you guys, it's life transformation, and it is intentional growth with accountability, and you're going to be completely blown away. You're going to discover things about yourself that you didn't realize consciously before. You're going to figure out your purpose and what function the Lord would have you to fill in the body of Christ in the kingdom today. It's going to be really good. Okay, I'm getting off topic. Okay, so somebody mentioned the contract. That's where I'm trying to lead into. This is all part of day 1 of the book. Not everything I just said, just the contract part. So our final stop today is to make a commitment to ourselves, a promise that I am going to follow through with this 3-week journey. Again, it's 15 days, but we're doing it in a month. I may not have heard this before, but each time I make a commitment to myself and follow through on that commitment, I build trust with myself. Trust builds confidence. The opposite is true too. When I don't follow through with what I've told myself, trust is broken and it leads to insecurity. So you need to trust yourself and build confidence in yourself, because there are times that you have broken your own trust and it's led to your insecurity. On the next page is a spiritual life contract. Take a moment before signing it. Think about what it's going to take and the sacrifice you will need to make for the next couple of weeks to follow through. Count the cost. Once you've signed it, put it somewhere you can see it. Rip it out and post it on your bathroom mirror, your office cubicle, or anywhere where you'll see it on a daily basis. I promise you, you will have a ton more confidence just following through with this commitment. And then it has the spiritual journey contract. And I have this in the PDF inside our school community under the book studies. It's right there ready for you, along with my bullet point notes and discussion that we're going to get into. Okay. So let me pull up here. I told you guys I was going to go over like how the format is going to work for this book study. This one's kind of going to be a little bit different because it is so short, and I love it though because we have a lot of time to just really dig in and establish healthy boundaries. So this is kind of going to be the format for it. I'm just going to screen share with you. Nope. Didn't get that done. Okay, let's try it again. Allow to share screen. Share entire screen. I'm going to need someone to pop on and tell me that you can see this.
I got it.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so again, here we are in the school community. This is what it looks like on a computer. This is like basically like the like like a Facebook feed kind of, right? Where you guys can all interact. You guys can all post something in here and you can comment on posts and like each other's posts. And this community is going to be so much more effective if you all interact in here. You make your own post, you comment on people's posts and interact with one another. That's going to be one of the most powerful and key aspects of this community. But anyway, there's that. Click on the classroom tab. Go down to book studies. And then you're going to click on the I do boundaries, which it's already here selected. This is where, again, you can buy a physical copy of this book if you would like, but I've got you a free ebook right here. And you can use the ebook. It's totally fine. And then here's where you're going to click the recap PDF. I will add to this every week. Right now, you only have week 1, but we'll go all the way through week 4 because it's a 4-week. There's 4 weeks in a month. And this is July. So, this is the first week of July is what I meant to say. So we are starting in the first week here. And then, okay. Getting myself lost here. Let me zoom out. So week 1, the theme for week 1 of this book is you are not powerless. Boundaries begin by reclaiming the power that God gave you. So you're going to read if you are wanting to read. You don't have to read. Because like I said, I just went through and gave you a lot of the main meat in week 1. Okay. And then I'm going to keep adding to this PDF document here with the discussion points, group questions, reflection prompts, everything that you need to get the meat out of this book. This is just the beginning. Since technically I am saying that tonight is the kickoff, instead of like normally I would say, hey, you need to have read chapters 1 through 3 by tonight, and then we'll discuss. That's not how we're doing it this time because this book is so short, where you can actually start tonight. So, or tomorrow. You can start lessons 1 through 5. And so next week, I will have even more on this week 1. And then, you see what I'm saying? Because it's only a 15-day book. Like there's days 1 through 15. And we have the whole month. So if you already started, totally fine. If you did not start, totally fine. If you never plan to start, totally fine. You just want to see this PDF document. So just go into the recap PDF, and this is where I will have everything that you need if you're not reading the book, or if you are reading the book and you want to work with it, okay? So here's the key scriptures. And then discussion points. Boundaries are not selfish, they're spiritual. You are not responsible for everyone. You're just responsible to the people that you're responsible to. God's yoke is easy and burden is light. If yours isn't, something's off. And then one of the things we're going to have to do that I did not hit on yet in establishing boundaries is we're going to have to rewrite some of the internal narratives in our minds. So we're going to have to take ownership over what's ours and what's not ours. And we're going to have to get over people pleasing, which is a really hard thing to do. Okay. But we're going to do it together. We're going to dive in. We're going to commit this whole month to establishing healthy boundaries and getting healthy in this area. So now I'm going to open it up. Also, here's the spiritual contract. That's what I was trying to show you. So you guys can print this out if you want, or you can just read it on here. I don't care. It's up to you. But I would love it for you to participate now at this point. So unmute, show your face if you want or not. I don't care. But I'm going to unscreen share, and I am going to ask you guys some of the discussion questions. Anybody else have any questions before I get into that? Anything you want to say? Questions, anything? I feel like I talked way, way too long for just the first night where I was just going to explain how this was going to be set up for the month and give you a quick recap. I talked for a really long time. Okay. Group questions. I understand you have to think about this for a minute, but then I want you to interact, okay? What areas of your life feel heavy or overwhelming right now? I'm going to go to the next one, okay? Because I know that one's kind of personal. Do you see any places where you've been taking responsibility for others? That's one that somebody should be able to share on without getting too vulnerable. I already shared one. I shared with you that I was waking up my 17-year-old son, and that should be his responsibility, not mine. So do you see any places, did our discussion tonight reveal to you any places where you've been taking responsibility for others that maybe you shouldn't? Anybody? Okay, the next question. What stories or beliefs were you raised with around being nice or helpful?
I can say that I was raised to always be able to do something for somebody else. I was not, I'm not gonna say not allowed, but if anybody had a need, I was expected to meet it. And that is something that has really stuck with me for a really long time. And it's something that I'm starting to overcome.
Yeah, that's good. Can everyone hear okay? Is it echoey or anything like that?
No, it's fine.
Okay, great.
Good.
Great. I'm even thinking back to places where this is a good thing, but I can see where it could blur the lines on healthy boundaries leading in if you carry this with you into adulthood. And it's simple. We teach kids, and all of us were taught to share. We're always taught to share. And I'm considering here how much I was taught to share that sometimes I think going into adulthood, because we have this memory from our childhood that we're taught to share, that sometimes we share to our detriment and to our family's detriment, because this is something that was ingrained in us as a child, which is a good thing. Yes, it's good to share. But if we don't understand that there are healthy boundaries that are okay, things that you don't have to share, that's something that's definitely, a belief that you could have been raised with that could lead to unhealthy boundaries in the future or in your life currently, I mean. And kind of like what Amber was saying, always being helpful, right? Always being taught to always be helpful. So I know sometimes in our family, we are so helpful of others that sometimes it's to our family's own detriment that we will sacrifice something that we had planned or something that is important to us to go help others. And then it's us that's being hurt because other people are not going to respect your time if you don't. These kind of questions, if you will do the hard work of thinking through these questions and forcing yourself to answer them, I find that it's best to force yourself to answer them by writing it on a piece of paper, because it forces you to face yourself and to think, to stop and to think and to put your thoughts down. And there's power in that that will bring you clarity about who you are and what you believe. And it will help clarify for you maybe some unhealthy areas and help you find pathways around that block to where you can get healthy. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds like it's too simple to work, but you guys, it works. Okay. So these questions that I'm asking you are in that PDF document that I showed you. And you can go back later if you're uncomfortable sharing here, or you simply can't think of an answer. I get it. Hard questions are hard when you're put on the spot and you don't have time to think it through. But if you will write down and answer these questions, I promise you will get some clarity about who you are and where you're at right now and maybe what you need to do moving forward. The next question is, where is God inviting you to take your power back? And there's a reflection prompt here. Sign your spiritual life contract and journal. What are 3 things I am choosing to take ownership of this month while we're doing this study? So that's all in that PDF. Another thing you need to understand is boundaries protect your relationship with yourself. Your first relationship is with you. So the second commandment is to love others as we love ourselves, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. You have to love yourself, or you can't. So your first relationship is with you, and when you have boundaries and internal limits, you know exactly where you begin and where you end. You know your lines. You trust yourself. You trust yourself to enforce your own limitations. You develop a healthy relationship with yourself and with others. You can communicate to others what they can and cannot do with conviction. And when you do, it builds your confidence. Boundaries will help you define and guard your soul. That's Proverbs 4:23. Boundaries will help you define and guard your soul. So that's important. That's how important boundaries are. This was the intro. We have 10 minutes left. I would love it if you guys would give me some kind of feedback. Open up, answer a question, ask a question, share what you think so far, what you're hoping to gain, anything. Literally say anything.
I'm really excited to start the book study, like to dig into it for real, because boundaries is something that I've been working hard on over the last year and a half or 2 years. And especially, I would even say, go as far to say, is the last 6 months. And it's like life altering once you get a grasp of that, so that you can be healthy for yourself and everybody around you.
Yeah. I will also say I need to learn the boundary thing, because I think it's so much more than what I ever thought it was. And where I think it's not love, it is like the best love. So I think I just had some unhealthy perceptions of what boundaries are, and just faulty thinking around the whole idea until I read this.
That's kind of the same. I had a lot of faulty thinking when it comes to setting boundaries, and how, oh, well, that can't be the right thing to do because it's pushing somebody away. It's not allowed
Right.
things. But I've had to set some really hard boundaries, and it's the best thing that I've done for myself and my kids.
Yeah. Yep, I felt the same way. You're pushing others away, you're cutting them out. That's not healthy, that's not love. And I think that those are lies in most cases. You have to look at the root of your heart. of love and forgiveness, obviously.
Yeah, I had to check myself a lot because I'm like, am I doing this out of bitterness? Am I doing this out of anger? Am I doing this out of unforgiveness? And ultimately, it was not.
Yeah.
I'm super proud of Amber. She is doing excellent. Kendra, I'm very excited about this. We just came through the emotionally healthy woman, and that this sounds like it's going to have a lot, back and forth with both of those. I just want to say that I think that us being Christian women, we've been told it all of our life, and that if you set boundaries, then you're selfish. And I'll never forget the very first time I ever heard it was when you're on an airplane. The very first instruction is you have to put the air on somebody else, the person next to you, before you can put it on yourself. Or put it on yourself. I'm sorry, put it on yourself before you put it on your child.
Yes.
Because if you aren't taken care of, you can't take care of others. And so I think that that's where we're at with this study. I'm kind of assuming anyway.
Yes. Yes. Yep. That's exactly where it's going. You have to take care of yourself, and you have to know where you begin and where you end in order to set clear boundaries and to confidently communicate them. So yeah, that's exactly. It has a lot to do with the emotionally healthy woman. It's plays right off of it. Anybody else?
I really like the part about building trust with yourself. So like whenever you make a commitment and then you're actually following through with it, it builds that, that trust. So then you're more confident too.
Yeah. Definitely.
I really like the idea of the spiritual contracts. That might be because I'm an attorney, so contract seems kind of right up my alley. But I think it is so easy for us as women to put ourselves on the back burner and to worry about everybody else and kind of forget about ourselves and what we need. And I always think about that saying, you can't pour into others if you have nothing in your own cup. And, some days I do really well at self care and making sure that I am doing good things for me. And other days I allow busyness and taking care of others to keep me from doing that. And so I like the idea of that contract just to kind of hold myself accountable to make sure that I am delving in and doing what I need to do. So I'm very excited about this. Very excited. And just two quick things. Colleen, I don't think you have a lick of makeup on, and good grief, you're so stinking cute. And Kendra, I can't see your shirt entirely, but what I can see, way cute. So anyway.
Timu. Got it off of Timu.
Oh,
Thank
I
you,
love it.
Julia.
Super.
Yeah, so you hit
I
on
love
what
you,
we
girl.
talked.
That's
Yeah, that was awesome. So you hit on what we talked about last week. I told everybody that their jars full. They're what did I say? Something about you're just a jar of stale water if you're not pouring out into others and then being refilled. And we hit a lot last month in this growth thing that, like I said, we did this in our women's ministry and we're going to do it here. But we did a very condensed version of it. We didn't get into what we need to get into. And so we're going to do it here. It's going to be, like I said, 8 to 12 weeks. I haven't mapped it all out completely yet. So that's why I don't exactly know how long I'm going to make it be and the start time. But it is so much about figuring out who you are, because as women, we do forget who we are and what we even like to do for fun. And that is something so crucial to taking care of ourselves and filling the purpose that God has for us in our lives. Part of that is knowing what we like, what we're passionate about. the things that we want to do. It's a part of one of the commandments is to rest on the Sabbath, and you can't rest and refill and have that rest and recreation in your life if you don't even know what you enjoy and what brings you rest. So we're going to deep dive into ourselves, figuring out who we are, self-care, all of that. That's not a part of this study. That's a part of another thing that we're going to do. So there's going to be so many options in this community for each and every woman who's in here to just pick and choose their path of exactly what they need. It's just going to be pretty soon packed full of more content that we can handle. So I'm really excited too. I'm glad you are all here. So this was our first night of our book study, and like I said, more information to come on that growth plan. It's going to be powerful for just bringing so much clarity and peace and purpose into your lives, and to helping you to just stop letting life live you, and instead you are purposefully and intentionally living out the life that God designed you to live out. So it's going to be really good. We did prayer and like a quick Bible devotional Monday morning at 8 a.m. There was only a few of us on there. I don't know if there's a better time that maybe works for everybody. And I understand not everybody's going to be able to be on everything. But if there is a better time that works for a majority of people, like for instance, we did it at 8 a.m., maybe 7 a.m. on a Monday morning works better. I don't know. It would work for me. So just throwing that out there. But next week we're going to hit, and every week we'll probably hit like some main pillars of prayer. For instance, praying for um, the church globally, praying for lost souls, praying for salvation and holiness, and just personal and global revival. Praying for our nation, praying for our schools, praying for our children, praying for families and marriages. Like, we're going to hit some of those main prayer pillars every week when we meet to pray. And then I put Bible study, but I need to change that because it's not going to be a Bible study. It's going to be more like a quick devotional word along with our prayer time. So we're doing that. Currently, it's Monday mornings at 8 a.m. if you want to join. I did not record last week because I had this week because I had a million technical difficulties. So I have been requested because people want to rewatch the prayer in that time. And I'm going to try to keep that to 30 minutes where we pray and do the quick devotional and try to keep that to around 30 minutes because people do want to watch that back. So I am planning on recording that. But yeah, thank you ladies for joining tonight on this book study. We'll meet right back here again next Tuesday at 6:30. Try to keep these to 1 hour. But before I shut it down, does anybody else have anything they want to say? Any questions they want to ask? Any comments? Anything?
I have a quick question. The Monday at 8 a.m., do we utilize this same format in order to join
Yes.
into that? Okay.
Yep, sure thing.
The next
This
thing
is really good.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. What'd you say, Julia?
I said the thing is, will I remember?
Yes. Yeah. I think it sends out notifications 24 hours prior to a meeting
Oh,
via email. I think it emails you.
fantastic.
So
That might
should
help.
get emails.
Okay.
Yep. All right. And if any of you haven't introduced yourself in the community, go on there, make a post, introduce yourself, interact with some other people's posts. Let's get to know each other. Nobody be afraid. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
I'll
All
just
right,
say
ladies.
thank
Yeah.
you for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited I'm finally doing it because this is something I have been wanting to do since 2018 and I've been too afraid to do it.
Mhm.
So, isn't that silly?
Yeah, it's amazing